Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me on this Tuesday. So the SPOOK topwater walking bait is one of my favorites. I feel like if you have some suitable fishing conditions, a topwater walking bait is going to be better than your popping style baits. These are typically open water baits that you're not fishing around any type of cover other than maybe a grass line. You can maybe be fishing on the edge, but you're not fishing it around the cover. You're fishing it on the outside edge of it. But I want to talk about some key features that the old school SPOOK, Head-In, Zero SPOOK, Super SPOOK, Puppy, Super SPOOK Junior, what these baits did or why they were so good. And there's still a lot of them out there. It's not the most popular bait amongst walking baits because there are so many walking baits, but this was, in its day, before they changed it, one of the best. Now you have some really good options now, like shower blows, if you like a really big one. The Sexy Dog, designed by Kevin Van Dam, by Strike King. Really good bait. Walks really good. Easy to fish. Catches a lot of fish. But I'm going to go through some of these older school baits. And I even have one of the new ones. I've done videos about this. Not my favorite. It's covered in bone paint. It's over clear plastic. Not why this was such a great bait. Why it was such a great bait was because the plastic itself was bone, so it was very loud. And the saltwater version was the loudest, and that's the one that I throw. I've only got a few of them left, so I might have to be going to the Sexy Dog. But I've also got the Zero SPOOK, which is a silent bait. Not a huge fan of this bait because of how big it is. It only has two hooks. So the key characteristics of these baits is how many hooks you have. So anytime I'm throwing a jerk bait, anytime I'm throwing a big topwater walking bait, where a lot of times they just bite it out of reaction, they bite it out of frustration, they're not necessarily always trying to swallow it, they're just trying to kill it, they're annoyed, whatever the case is, I like 3 hooks. So the Zero SPOOK, you can take these off and put split rings on it. That's going to improve your hookups. So if you take a spinnerbait blade, you see those little screws, you can twist those screws off, put split rings on there, or you could also put the braided line split rings, which are becoming more and more popular. And if you think about it, that hook can twist and spin a whole lot more on those braided line split rings. Go check out a video on those. I'm going to start next year when we get into lipless trap fishing on Gunnersville. I'm going to rig some up with the braided split rings. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check that out. That could be a major game changer if you're losing fish on a treble hook bait. Now, this is not one I'm ever going to throw. Now, they did come out with one recently called the Boyo, very similar to this Zara Puppy. So if you look at the Super SPOOK, the Puppy is tiny compared to that. This is a really good bait that you can still throw on a bait caster, and it's not too big, you know, where you want 3 hooks. 2 hooks are fine. You're going to have a pretty good landing percentage. This is a good bait. Zara Puppy, it's also silent, but if you need to make really precise cast, fish are feeding on really small bait fish, this is a good bait. You can throw it on a spinning rod if they're schooling or something like that, but if you need to be accurate, you're fishing around the outside edge of grass lines, or maybe you're fishing around docks, lily pads, whatever it may be, laydowns, bushes, this is a good bait. When they get really keyed in on a certain bait fish, you sometimes have to go with those really small ones. And then one of my all-time favorites is the Super SPOOK Junior. This is a beast on smallmouth, and this is just an all-around really good fishing bait when the Super SPOOK is just too much. So the only 2 that I really fish a whole lot is the Super SPOOK Junior and the Super SPOOK. The only difference is the Super SPOOK, those are the size. The size on the new Super SPOOKs didn't change at all. But the Junior, look for it in that saltwater version. Very loud. Look for the older ones. This is definitely one that I may be trying to borrow from my dad because he doesn't throw it a whole lot. Super SPOOK Junior, saltwater version, Head-In. That's an older one. You can just tell by how loud it is. The paint job. But those are the ones that I'm gonna throw. I think the Boyo is a good one. It's loud. It's one of their new baits. And then if you can find these puppies, they're really good. Now, unfortunately, I've only got a few left, so I'm thinking about probably gonna start trying some sexy dogs more. But this is great when you're not really in popper water. You may have some wind or a lot of clouds, or you're covering bigger areas where you need to fish your topwater faster. These are the baits. Make sure you use the ones with the right amount of hooks, and the ones that make the most sound, I think, is always going to be your best bet when you're fishing a topwater walking bait. Poppers, completely different situations. You may be fishing around more cover. You may be in more little condensed areas where you're looking to just get the fish to commit, and you're gonna make a bunch of casts, and you're not really spacing out your casts. These baits, you're either gonna scare the fish away or you're gonna catch them, but you're really spacing out your casts. You're covering a lot more water with this bait. So not only on flats and big ridges, but also you can throw this around highland reservoirs. You know, if you're fishing points or just burning down the bank, this is a really good bait for that. And again, your spotted bass, your smallmouth, I always go with the junior. Places where they have big gizzard shad, I always go with the Super Spook. So try that. This is an old school bait, but man, it catches a lot of big ones. And look for the ones that really work well. The newer ones, hopefully they change them back someday, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. The newer ones I've used, nowhere nearly as good, especially that bone colored one. Don't even buy the bone one. So try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.